My name is Gloria Nauden. I am a 35-year resident of Ward 6, Capitol Hill to be exact. I rented for 5 years and I bought my home about 30 years ago, October of 1996, when I was just a ripe 26-year-old. I've now raised two daughters in this household, one going off to college pretty soon, uh, both through public schools, and I've had a career across multiple sectors, public, private, and philanthropic. People feel like he has really just been in office too long. It's been quote unquote, titled as, stagnation because he's a career politician, some complacency, perhaps even some arrogance is what I'm hearing. In other instances, in neighborhoods, we call them sort of the peripheral neighborhoods, not core to Capitol Hill, but so it's Noma, Sursum Quarter, all the way over to Greenleaf, Syfax, and James Creek. I would say the middle class and the poor feel very disconnected from his leadership. So when we give youth opportunities that are real and they are engaged, in fact, that reduces chances of growing up into environments that could produce crime or criminal behavior. So when the businesses are not strengthened and strong enough to create the employment opportunities, then we don't have a place for youth to end up going to get their first job at the ice cream shop, if you will. So, at this point, like you said, there's a chairman that's gone on forever. I actually, suggested to Charles, I was like, you should run at large. You really should. Or go for chairman. Just recalibrating his position as somebody who's definitely been an advocate, at DDOT and environment around issues that are important. It's just that the priorities have shifted now, and we should have zero crime in this ward. And on my watch, we will not have the kind of crime we've experienced, and it won't take the National Guard to have to create that solution. That is the conversation almost on every doorstep I'm on, especially with women. Everyone deserves to walk out of their house and feel safe. I've sadly had to tell my children, hey, when you walk out of the house, little girls, you go to the left towards the Capitol. I'm on Maryland Avenue. You don't go to the right, right? And these are serious matters that need addressing so that we don't have militarization and federalized police forces here. I will say what I've heard, and some people say you shouldn't repeat this, but people do feel safer because the National Guard is here. What we don't like as Democrats is that that happened on a Republican watch. But what I hear that people are admitting is that we do feel safer, and the statistics show that crime has technically gone down. But what can happen is a vision for neighborhood policing. I've lived here when we've had police officer, Johnny on horseback, waving to Charlie down the street and asked him how his grades were this semester. And, Sarah, who was in the investigative unit, living down the street. This is what I want to see again. It's community policing, it's neighborhood-based policing, it's them being a part of the fabric of our community. And when neighbors know each other, we're safer. And so that's my vision for, a safer, when I say safer, stronger Ward 6. It really takes strategic thinking around what the future of our plans look like in securing not just Ward 6, but the entire city. Being proactive, like I mentioned on the last question, like how are we investing deeply in youth and their career pathways and their quality of education? It's really just Johnny, we know from up the street, and like he lives here and his car's parked out front. And not just him, it's really around workforce. It wasn't just police people were talking about. They were saying firefighters, EMS, school teachers. We want this workforce to live affordably in our community. It sounds like people, and I have not heard this need or this concern. So it's, you're bringing it to my attention as someone like I'm considering in media would have a responsibility to do. I just thought about how I intentionally went to the pharmacy on East Capitol Street a couple of weeks ago for my daughter's meds. And it's the historic one. Can you help me recall it? It is
Grubbs Pharmacy. Yeah.
Grubbs Pharmacy, and how I took delight in going there, separate from running to get my groceries right at Giant or Whole Foods or however piece all my refrigerator together, including a Trader Joe's. Like what a wonder that we have per, you know, per square mile, almost more grocery stores concentrated in our neighborhoods than in most neighborhoods, right? You know, there are communities that are, you know, what do they call it? Like have food desert or grocery desert, fresh food at that. Um, but I think what we're considering is like the elders, right? Which I have admittedly very recently taken deep effort to hear and understand the concerns of our senior citizens, especially the ones living in Section 8 housing. And they talked a little bit about the access here that you're mentioning, but for them also the broken sidewalks and literally having falls. Um, you know, if that is something that the Ward 6 residents want, and again I haven't heard it, but you're saying it, so it must be a thing. That's something that I would look into. I think that Aldi probably within their scope of services just might not provide it at all. Sometimes, like, not all CVS have pharmacies. And so I think based on the community's needs could be responsive to that. So I would certainly advocate for that, especially if that is a concern that, on record and in fact we need more of, or figure out, how we can do more. I don't know if this is an actual thing for elders, but you know, uh, having it delivered, medications. I feel like, as my parents were passing, that started becoming popular. Um, Ubers were just coming to fruition at the time my parents were passing, and that was really helpful to help me get them around to their doctor's appointments. But as a matter of pharmacy, yeah, I could see, we need to create more access if that's it.